fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country.
Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump face off in a highly anticipated debate as they trade barbs and make their pitch as to why voters should elect them as the next president of the United States. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. From the economy to abortion rights to immigration, tonight's debate touched on several topics. Natalie Brand kicks off our coverage from Philadelphia with highlights from the debate.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump took the debate stage in Philadelphia in their first ever meeting face-to-face.
I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again.
With polls showing a razor-tight race just 8 weeks until Election Day, they tackled issues top of mind for voters, including the economy and inflation.
We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before.
My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start-up small businesses.
The two went head-to-head on abortion.
This is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years.
The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
They sparred over immigration.
We have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums.
What we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
Trump repeated a baseless claim about migrants abducting and eating pets in Ohio. Officials say there's no evidence.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
You talk about extreme.
This was Trump's 7th presidential debate, Harris's first, an opportunity for her to define herself and explain her policy positions to voters.
A CBS News poll found roughly 4 in 10 voters in several battleground states said they didn't know what Harris stood for, in stark contrast to Trump.
And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
If she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance.
This is currently the only debate scheduled between the two candidates, though both sides have signaled they're open to at least one more. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Philadelphia.
For more on how the candidates performed and if each did as well as they had hoped, we start with CBS 8 political analyst Laura Fink. Laura, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
Boy, that was something.
Wow.
Let's start with Kamala Harris. It's the first time we've seen her in a presidential debate. Did she meet the moment? There was a lot riding on this for her.
Well, let's keep in mind, Carlo, that the expectations of her were very high. 30% of voters don't know a lot about her. So she had to do that heavy lift in an adversarial environment that is inherent to a debate. So her job was to let voters get to know her and her policies as well, while taking incoming from both the moderators and the other side. So it was a heavy lift. I thought she held her own tonight. I thought she didn't let Donald Trump get under her skin, and she was able to talk enough direct to the camera that voters got snippets, and we'll see on social media how that plays, about things like the economy, about abortion, and about immigration.
We heard going in that people really want to hear more about specifics from her. Do you think she did enough with the specifics, or will the rest of the performance just overwhelm that?
Well, it's always hard, but there were more eyeballs on her tonight than we have ever seen in any debate, in any convention speech. And so she had the opportunity to be able to talk about it. Now, I think the economy got kind of swallowed in the beginning of the debate, which was a structural problem. But you saw her try to turn it back, even though they were moving on to foreign policy. And we know it was a tangle and a tussle. So there wasn't a lot of coherence to the subjects moving. So I thought she was able to get her swings in.
Where was Donald Trump effective tonight?
Donald Trump has a very loyal base, and they respond very well to what he delivers every time in his multiple debates. He was passionate tonight, some might say angry, but he delivered raw meat for his base, and so expect that they are not movable moving forward.
He hit their base, but he presented a very dark image of America today. Is that an image, is that a message that's going to win over any voters who are still out there, who are still undecided?
Well, Donald Trump, I would say, had two jobs. One was to, as you're saying, appeal to the very small percentage of swing voters that are in those critical battleground states. But then he also really needed to disarm Kamala Harris. And I would say because she got under his skin, because she got him rattled, because she took him off message, he was unable to effectively disarm her and stop her momentum. So while I would say he retained his base, he had a very hard time tonight. Some might say a bad night, wandered, was rattled, a little bit incoherent. So but again, he didn't have as difficult a job given the state of the race.
A lot of supporters on the internet in reaction of Donald Trump are saying he didn't have a good night. Turning to Vice President Kamala Harris, what was her best moment tonight? What did you think she really did a great job with?
Well, it all has to do with timing. At the very beginning of the debate, first 5, 7, 10 minutes, she was able to talk about crowd size and really get under his skin and talk about people, his fans, leaving because of boredom. And so that is a small item that he really should have ignored, but he felt he had to take the bait every time she threw it out there. And so she was incredibly effective, starting with that first moment at controlling the conversation and showing Donald Trump to be off his game.
We're almost out of time, but this is a question I'm curious. Do you think we'll see another presidential debate this cycle?
I hope so, but I don't think so. I think the parties are too divided and may not be able to come to terms. But it really depends on how the race is moving forward. If it's tight and it's close, and if, say, Donald Trump feels it's necessary, we might see another one.
All right, Laura Fink, our political analyst. What was a very interesting night, to say the least. I've never seen anything like that.
Wild times.
All right, we'll talk to you again at 10 o'clock tonight on the CW San Diego. In the meantime, stay with CBS 8 for the latest on the presidential race. We're going to have any updates posted on CBS8.com. You can also follow us on social media or download the free CBS 8 app.